Okay, number 6, science. Tell us what to do. Many people have this idea that we just need to trust the scientists on this one. Science will tell us what to value, and we just need to leave it up to them. A range of comments again from the Kim Hill interview. The bottom one in particular, it's not about values. It's science. It's what this person contends. But it's important to remember that scientists also told us what to do during the acclimatisation era as well. We'll recall that most of the acclimatisation societies around the country included scientists among their foremost members who were great advocates for introducing new species to New Zealand. At the time, those scientists were guided by the displacement theory of Charles Lyell, someone who also had enormous influence on Darwin. Lyell taught that superior European species would inevitably displace and supplant inferior natives, and that there was not much that could be done about it. The best that scientists at the time hoped to do was to shoot and preserve stuffed specimens of native species for posterity, something that people like Walter Buller were made famous for. But by the latter part of the 19th century, Lyell's views began to lose popularity, along with the scientific community and the space in general. And their views began to shift alongside more popular views towards the appreciation that for many native species, they were actually doing just fine, and some of the more vulnerable ones could also be protected if suitable management regimes were put in place to protect them or their habitats in the same way that we had protected up until that point introduced species. At the least, this sort of history provides a pause for thought that scientists A, don't always get it right, and B, change their views over time, often in line with changing social and cultural values. Now, restoration ecology as a science emerged as a subdiscipline only very recently, only in the 1980s. And it's based both on the technical idea and on the moral assumption that ecosystems can and often should be returned to some prior state. Restoration ecology and related disciplines of conservation and invasion biology have had enormous influence over the environmental movement in general, to the extent that they've often formed the sole voice in our discussions about wildlife and how we think it should be. The International Society for Ecological Restoration was founded in 1987, and recognising the enormous impacts that humans have had on their environments, the society remains, and this is from their mission statement, it remains dedicated to reversing this degradation and restoring the Earth's ecological balance for the benefit of humans and for nature. In this way, restoration ecologists are wedded to 3 value-based assumptions about ecology. Firstly, that change is reversible, something that I've already noted is on most levels extremely hard to accept. Secondly, that the Earth has an ecological balance to which it can be returned, something again that I've already argued is an anachronism. And lastly, that humans are distinct from nature, which is also something that's really deeply questionable as well. You know, not everyone agrees with Tom Cruise that we came down from outer space, and Maori most notably have long accepted that people are a part of nature. I think most Pākehā in New Zealand too accept this. We're increasingly accepting of the interrelationships between people and the environments in which we live. I think we can also increasingly see that the division between nature and culture, this sort of construction, has in many ways been the problem that has gotten us into so much of this environmental strife in the first place. Now, in ecologists' defence, there's no doubt that they are very, very good at some things. They're very good at collecting data and assembling graphs. What they're not so good at, and what they're not really trained for, is interrogating the ethical assumptions that underpin their science. And as you can see here, some of the most fundamental underpinnings of their science are highly debatable. That's one reason why I think it's important to try to get more perspectives into this space now. Given that conservation is, in many respects, all about values, we need more people that have skills in this area now, particularly in the humanities and the arts and the social sciences. I've talked about across geography and so on and so forth. By the way, I recently learnt that the Society for Ecological's mission statement has in fact changed over the last couple of years. This is back in 2005 when I published my PhD. Somewhere between then and now, it's had an amendment. What they actually did was they scratched out ecological balance, which was evidently too embarrassing to leave in there anymore. So So I take it from that despite what some restoration ecologists tell us, some human-induced changes can in fact be positive. And the Society, as you can now see, at least accepts that the evolution of their mission statement is necessary, if nothing else.